Sometimes when we are feeling stress, it's difficult to enter into restorative poses right away. We can feel like we're our energy is too up in order for us to calm our nervous system down so quickly to immediately go into restorative postures, which is why my favorite way to do restoratives is to move through a gentle practice first to kind of get your yayas out, get the energy that is pent up in your body moving through your breath and through movement so that you can rest in stillness and really invite that parasympathetic nervous system to take hold. So that's what we're going to do today to help us kind of just get rolling. Okay, let me get my computer squared away. Okay, so sit up straight and tall. And a lot of times I notice when I'm teaching in the studio is that people sit out directly on the floor. And I think it's very rare for people to be super comfortable directly on the ground. You might think, oh yeah, I'm fine. I don't need anything to sit on. But if you're going to be there for a moment or two, it's really important to have a sense of comfort in your back and pelvis. So whatever you're sitting on, try to have your knees be in line with your hips or a little bit lower than your hips. So see if you have that going on. So if I sit on the floor, I can't sit there for a very long time comfortably without my knees starting to creep up a little bit. So pay attention to that. And then also pay attention to the pelvic bowl itself. If you feel like you're rolling back at all and it's kind of hard to keep yourself up, you might find that being up on a little bit of a block or a blanket or a bolster or something, and even tipping just slightly forward into an anterior tilt of the pelvis, not a lot, not to the place where you're really arched in the back and pushing your chest forward, but a sense of a little bit of an anterior tilt can keep that neutral curve in the lumbar spine in a healthy place. So we're just aligning everything so that our spine is comfortable resting upon our pelvis. So with those things in mind, find what's comfortable for you. And it might be sitting in Virasana, not Sukhasana, and that's great too, but even still, have something under your pelvis. All right, so let's drop our awareness. Once you have a comfortable seat, let's pay attention to the ease in which your body can drop or not. If we are anxious on any given day, sometimes it's very difficult to drop into the restful nature of the body. So just notice your barometer this morning. Can you first align your crown over your tail, feeling a sense of openness across your chest, your shoulders, just ever so slightly broad and back, feeling the shoulder blades on the back, sense of integration where we're not slumped, where we're not fighting our different parts to find each other. Once you feel a little bit of support in that way, let's come into the ability to relax. So melt your skull, melt the skin at your hairline and let it descend like a curtain down toward your eyebrows and your eyes. See if you can let all the muscles, lots of muscles that control your eye movements, let them soften. A sense of ease through your cheeks and your cheekbones. Feeling your jaw slack, the inner ears widen. The root of your tongue, the roots of your teeth, all melting. And translate that ease that's coming into your face into the feeling of your breath. Can you loosen the hold across your diaphragm so that the breath is free? And it's okay if you're not there. If freedom of the breath is elusive, just be where you are and allow your breath to move. See what chambers of your lungs fill easily and what chambers of your lungs maybe don't fill so easily. Are you a top breather, a bottom breather? Can you feel the back body? Can you feel the sides, even under your armpits? Now let's pay attention not only to where the breath's going, but speed and sensation of flow. So, how does the breath feel on the inhale? Is it smooth or choppy? Is it quick or slow? Do you have a sense of having a hump to go over between the inhale and exhale? Between the exhale and the inhale? One of the simplest tools we can access to help our nervous system turn on the parasympathetic is to elongate our exhale. So let's find that now. Let your inhale be smooth and steady if you can, and just let the exhale pour like you're pouring a pitcher of water into a glass, slow stream. When you slow down the exhale, notice if your inhale becomes naturally more vibrant, more full. And even if this is difficult and your mind is not here yet, or your breath is not cooperating yet, that's okay. Just be where you are. Try to create presence and awareness. When you're ready, place your palms together at your heart. And let's see if we can keep this flow moving as we have a very gentle practice today, a deeply restorative, hopefully feeling deeply restorative in the practice today. So with that in mind, create an intention, maybe for your day, maybe for your practice. How can the calmed nervous system support you? And let's release the hands and find our way onto our back. All right, so as we come to a horizontal place, lying on our back, enjoy. So, it's so nice to lie down periodically through the day if you're able to, for 5-minute increments every once in a while, to shift our perspective. All right, so let's find our way into a horizontal plane and reach the arms overhead, reach the left, reach the right. And let's just wake up a little teeny bit of a back bend feeling in your back when your arms are over your head. And then release your arms down at your sides and pick up your knees and bring your knees into your chest. Okay, let's rock a little bit, swaying from side to side. And let's circle the knees. So hold on to your knees. And let's circle one direction. And then circle another direction. See if you can maintain that beautiful breath. Let's open the knees away from the midline and bring them back in toward the midline. So just feeling your hip joints loosen up, hopefully, a little bit. All right, and then this is kind of a big posture, but let's try it. Put your hands on your feet and come into happy baby pose. So it might feel like a big stretch on your back. Just go as deep as your body says to go. This is a deep posture for your back this early in practice, so just notice. All right, and then if you can, while you're here, drop the tip of your tail and drop the weight of your head so that there's a little less rounding in the spine. And then release the legs, spread them out straight, stretch your palms out, stretch your feet out, a big starfish on the ground. Exhale, knees into your chest. Pick your head up.
Twice more. Open your body out. Feel, take up space. Make yourself big. Exhale, make yourself small. Tuck your chin in. One last time. Big open breath. Spread out your body. Wake up. Exhale, knees into the chest. Hug it. Keep your head resting on the ground now. Right knee into your chest, left leg long on the ground. And feel the good squeeze. Hug your hip in, hug your knee in. Give it a good compression. Roll your feet around. So let's wake up your feet. So rolling through your toes, wiggling through anything that's mobile in the feet. Feel your ankles move. And switch sides, left knee in. Feel the compression first. So give a good squeeze of hugging the knee and hip snugly in, lengthen the spine, keep the head heavy. Pay attention to the way you're breathing. Feel free to move around again. So, sometimes every day we need, I think, a little love for our feet. They carry us through many miles. So let's enjoy giving them some space and room to open. And then release that legs, arms stretch overhead. Deep breath in. Exhale, knees into your chest. Head up and then find your way onto your side. Come up onto all fours. All right, so be inside your breath and body. Maybe it might feel comfortable to you to close your eyes. Maybe it feels much better for you to keep your eyes aware of your surroundings. What serves your ability to be present and aware of the internal sensations, the sense of grounding and safety in your body in this moment? Okay, so choose eyes open or closed for that purpose. And let's start to move into some cat-cows. So enjoy each little bit of your vertebrae opening. Notice the directional change. See if you can feel into that flow of the spine. Enjoy your spine. Enjoy your breath. And feel free to move the body around. So you can do some rib cage rolling. You can wag your tail or do some pelvic circles. You can slide and glide your shoulder blades across your ribs. You can let your head move. So just play inside your body. Nothing too severe, but just getting to a place where you're alive and aware of all the little nooks and crannies. And let all the mobility that you're creating help you to loosen the capacity for breath. And then find your way back to child's pose. And let's walk the hands forward to wherever you can get them to be comfortably. So you feel a good stretch in your armpits and your shoulders, feeling weight come down into the sit bones. All right, now spread open the hands really wide, like you're trying to stretch your fingers, and then come back up onto all fours. Curl your toes under, lean back again toward your heels, and see if your hands can stretch wide and your feet can stretch wide. So just open up those edges of your body that often are the places that we interact with the world. Our feet touch the ground every step we take. Our hands obviously are one of the biggest ways we interact with our world. So let's open them up. And then relax. Let your toes soften. You can unwind them. So normal child's pose on the ground. Find your breathing. If you can't comfortably lower your head to the ground, put a block under your head. And let's just take a moment and feel the ease, whether it's on the floor or on a block. Let's feel the ease of having contact with your forehead on something. So this is a very good cue to the nervous system that all is well, that you can relax. So even if you can't go very, maybe your hips and knees don't allow a depth that you need here, you can even put your hands on the ground, or elbows on the ground, or elbows on the block, and rest your forehead in your hands. So let your forehead rest upon something. Okay, relax and melt. See if you can let the frontal lobes of your brain rest. All right, and then we're gonna walk our hands over to the right side of the mat. Open up the rib cage for some breath. So ground your finger pads, reach all the way down to your sit bone. So you might feel the extension from armpit up to hands and then armpit down to heels, or rib up to hand and rib down to heel or to sit bone. So wherever you find that sense of capacity to stretch in two different directions, open up the side body. All right, let's walk our hands over to the other side and enjoy what's happening here. Melt the head. You can even, if you need a block to stick your forehead on, you can even continue resting the forehead if you want to on something. Feel that stretch to the hand. Feel that stretch to the sit bone. Keep the neck neutral and soft. Make sure your breath is filling up space. And then come back to center. Swish your spine around again. Breathing well. And then when you're ready, drop your hips as far over to the right as your body can stay balanced with. And then come back up and drop your hips all the way over to the left as far as your body is okay with. And we're going to stretch your right leg straight. Curl the toes under again. Feel the calf start to open. Cross that foot over your left leg and then turn and look out over the left with your torso, stretching the side body in a slightly different way. Bring your breath into your hips. And then come back to center and change sides. Curl the left toes under, open up the calf. When you're ready, cross that left foot over to the right and turn and look at your foot. Feeling that space through the side hip, the rib cage. Bring your breath into the inner rim of the pelvis, into the gap between the ribs and the hip. And then come back to center and come back down towards child's pose. And just rock a little bit, let your back relax. That was a big stretch for some of the low back muscles. Come back up onto all fours and have a cat-cow. All right, a little rib cage rolling here. So we're going to drop the ribs down toward the earth. Bring them over to the right. Bring them up to the sky. Bring them over to the left and back down again. So just imagine yourself inside a cylinder. You're trying to brush against the inside of the cylinder with your rib cage evenly across the whole cylinder. Breathe well. And change sides. Feel that range of motion in your rib cage. We're just trying to get pliable and mobile so that our breath is easy and free. And relax again. Curl the toes under and lift up to dog pose. Okay, so we're going to drop one heel and then drop the other heel. We're kind of progressively bringing that sense of awareness and spaciousness deeper into other parts of our body. Melt your skull as best as you can. So being that this practice today is going to be fairly restorative, let that be the center point of your breathing pattern. Let it be the focus of your mind that we're trying to yield and surrender and bring our nervous system into a state of grace. So as you become more still in this posture, enjoy the inversion. Let your brain rest. Feel those frontal lobes rest in the hammock of your skull. A full, beautiful breath. Enjoy all the openness we've created in our ribs to receive the breath well. Keep the neck as neutral as you can. Spread out the hands and feet like we did earlier. Yield into the ground, give weight, and rise up through the spine. Okay, walk your feet forward, come into Uttanasana, relax your head. Interlace your hands behind your skull and just tuck your chin toward your chest. A little bit of a whole back line stretch here. Breathing deeply. And then relax your hands. Grab your blocks and come to a halfway lift with your hands on your blocks. Extend the spine. So it's a little different than when you have your hands on your legs. Spread open the bones of the feet again. Try to get your feet as wide as you possibly can. And then root them. Drop the weight of your feet down and then lift from your arches all the way up to the inner and outer groins. So feel the inner groins and the outer hips. Lengthen upward, root the feet down. And then relax and melt. Drop your seat, bend your knees, lift your chest, and rise all the way up. Take a breath, lean back a little bit if this is feeling good to you. Squeeze your shoulder blades a moment, wake up the back body, and then bring your forearms to touch. Interlace your fingers, press your palms straight up to the sky, and you can have your feet, a little wider if that comfortable base feels better. And we're gonna lengthen up and over. Stabilize with your core. Keep your neck neutral and relaxed. Feel the four corners of each foot. Back up, interlace your hands the weird way, and come up and over to the other side. So we're trying not to fall. We're thinking up more than we're thinking down. Root into the feet. Use your core to support. Keep your neck soft. Okay, relax, open again. A big cactus through your arms, and then release and surrender your hands. Okay. Close your eyes, open your eyes. Whichever feels good to you. Just have a moment of presence where we feel the grounding of our feet. Imagine your breath that travels down in layers all the way to the soles of your feet. Okay, we're gonna come up onto our toes for a moment, just a little bit of awareness of balance. You can bring the arms out or up if you want to. Just get a little efforting through the muscles in your feet. And then release your feet down and lift your toes. Okay, so just find your balance point and then release your hands back down. Ground the four corners. Full breath in. Inhale up onto your toes. Arms coming to the sky. Exhale, heels come down and float your head, torso down. Inhale for a halfway lift. Maybe you hold your legs or the blocks. Exhale and melt. Be mindful of your neck staying neutral. Step your left foot back. Right foot comes forward to a lunge. Enjoy opening up your body in this way. Place your back knee down on the ground. Feel the hip flexors open up a little bit on that back leg. Find a breath. Lift your back knee up and let's start to bend and straighten the front. All right, so the knee comes into a bend, chest stays open. Straighten the legs, square the hips, drop the chin toward the chest. Doesn't matter, stay within your range of motion. If you find yourself rounding a whole lot in your spine, you might want to do less in the leg so that your spine can stay fairly neutral. All right, decide whether you want to do a lunge with your knee on the ground or your knee up off the ground. We're going to find our way upward. Reaching the arms to the sky, find the breath, open things up. Remember that our breathing is the most important thing we're doing. Keep the neck soft. Send the skin at the base of the skull down your back. And then release the hands to the ground. Back foot comes forward. Fold, melt the neck, melt the head. Inhale for a halfway lift. Find the rhythm of your breathing. Exhale and melt again. Right foot back. Come to a lunge. Place the back knee on the ground. Eyes open, eyes closed. How do you like to be? Feel into the rhythm of your breathing. Enjoy the sensation of opening your hip flexors.
Pay attention to your breath. If you're holding your breath, if you're gripping your breath, if you're shrinking your breath, these are indications of the quality of this, the state of our mind. So let's train our mind with our breath. Lift that knee up, start to bend and straighten with your breathing pattern. So the front knee bends, chest opens up. The front leg starts to straighten a bit, maybe all the way, maybe not. Tuck the chin toward the chest without over-rounding the spine. Where do you inhale and where do you exhale? Try not to live by rules, live by principles. Stay in the breath. So there's no rule that you must inhale here or exhale here, but there is the principle that the breath is the guiding movement of your pose. Come into lunge, decide whether you're going to do this with your knee down or your knee up. Rise up. Bring your breath with you. Maybe your arms are somewhere else. You can have your hands anywhere you want them to be. Try not to compress into the lumbar spine. Feel the support as you rise up. Have some activity in your legs. Press your front heel into the ground. And then bring your hands down, step back, dog pose. Notice your breath. Melt your head. And inhale, a long, steady exhale. Feel the inversion, feel the surrender of this pose as you exhale. Spread out the hands, spread out the bones in the feet. Yield, push, and reach through your body. Come forward into a plank, and let's just put our knees down to conserve our energy since we're going easy today, and find the ground. Roll the shoulders a few times, just feel into that range of motion. Inhale, lift up to cobra pose. A big open chest, melt and fold to come back down. Arms out wider, extend and lengthen here, reach into your feet, melt and fold. Put your hands under your forehead for a moment. Let your body breathe. Once again, feeling that you're supporting the forehead, an indication that the body can rest. When our front body, our vulnerable front body is grounded, this is a feeling of safety for some people. For some people, having the back exposed is not as safe. Just notice your impression, your experience. Come back up onto all fours. Move the spine about. Onto all fours, lift the left arm up in the air, slide that shoulder down, feeling that sense of twisting, breathing well. Inhale, reach that arm all the way back up. Hand down onto the ground, change sides. Arm up, how's your breath? Find your way through. Release expectations. There's no goals here other than being present. Inhale, lift that arm all the way up. Hand comes down onto the ground. We're going to come into pigeon pose. Take support if you need it. We usually do standing poses for a bit before we kind of go deeper into our hips, and we're skipping that today. So let's just feel into whatever support you need. So blankets or blocks underneath your thighs and your sit bone. You can turn over onto your back and do a reverse pigeon pose if this is not good for your joints. Okay, and then extend. Before we go down, I have my blocks in front of me so I can come upward and have a lot of length and open heart in this posture. So breathe into the upward stance first before we lower ourselves. A full inhale, long exhale.
And then when you're ready, find a lower place. Now you might want to block again underneath your forehead. Let the brain rest on something. If you are kind of trying to get away from the pose by leaning into one side, then maybe take more support underneath your right sit bone or left thigh. Melt the shoulders. Concentrate on melting the skull. Loosen the jaw. Make it so that you feel like you could drool. Let the inner ears relax. Stay with the rhythm of your breathing. Sometimes when we come into a posture that's still, our breathing, we lose our flow. So come back into that beautiful rhythm that you've been cultivating. Yourself back up. I'm going to swing the other leg around and switch sides. Now, once again, you can come into reverse pigeon pose if you need it. I have a blanket underneath my my front sit bone and my back thigh. All right, so you can take a bolster or a couple of blankets or just a block, whatever feels good. Maybe you're flexible in this way and you rest easily on the ground. But you don't want to feel like you are fighting the posture. Okay. Maybe your hands come up onto blocks to help you in that upward posture. If you're on your back, tip the tailbone down and keep the head heavy. Extend through your spine. Find your breath again. Return back to that metronome rhythm of your breathing. When you're ready, you can come lower onto toward the floor and rest your head on a block if that feels nice to you. Maybe you're flexible enough to come to the floor, whatever feels good. And then allow your arms to rest. So forearms are on the ground probably, but let the hands be soft. See what it feels like to melt the skull, to feel the jaw and the tongue relax enough for drooling, to feel the support of the brain. Melt your shoulders and your neck. Feel into your diaphragm. Notice if there's any gripping, if you're trying to hold away from the pose, what can you do to melt the diaphragm? Go ahead and find your way back upward. Swing that back leg around. We're going to come to sit on the blanket. So just like I was talking about in the beginning of class, make sure you have a little bit of support. You might need a strap for this next pose. Okay, so Paschimottanasana. I'm going to put a strap around my feet. Okay, I'll lift upward. Find your breath. We're going to turn this into a more restorative variation in a moment, but let's just first open up from the bottom of our toes, wrapping around our heels, the zing up the back of your legs, all the way to your sit bones. Breathing well. All right, and then release that strap or your hands on your legs. We're going to open the legs out for Upavista. Now, if you have 2 blocks, this hopefully will be enough, but you can always take more support if you need it. First of all, if this is not comfortable and you're ending like this, you might want some support underneath your knees. You can stick a pillow or a blanket underneath your knees so that you're not feeling like you're just stuck. The other thing you can do is get higher. I have a blanket under my pelvis, but you might want more to see where you are. And then let's first just take the hands behind us and open up. We're going to turn this into a restorative pose in just a moment. Let's first stretch through the legs, open up the bottom of the feet, point your toes and kneecaps to the sky, round your thighs.
And then when your breath allows you, come forward. So you might stack 2 blocks with some elbows. Okay. So this might be where you need to be supported, maybe a little lower, maybe a little lower, maybe a little lower, and you come all the way down. So wherever you naturally go, be very mindful that you're keeping your pelvis neutral and that you're not rounding the spine. So you can tip the pelvis a little bit into an anterior tilt, kneecaps, toes pointing up, and then lengthen the spine forward. So have whatever height you need to be underneath your forehead. And it could be a block under your forehead, or you could have your elbows on the blocks with your head on the floor, in the forehead, your forehead in your hands. All right, so make sure you're not overstressing your hamstrings, your inner thighs. See if you can feel the gentle stretch through the belly of your muscles, not just at the attachment sites at knees and sit bones. Drool again, melt the skull, melt the neck, the shoulders, the jaw, the tongue, the eyes. A slow, steady breath. With every exhale, if there's something more you can release. Hold the inner knees to bring your knees toward your chest. Give yourself a hug, just let your legs kind of reconnect with the neutral plane. All right, I'm going to come to lie down on our back. Find your breath. Or once you are horizontal, roll over onto your right side. You can put your arm under your head or a blanket or a block. Grab onto the top of your left foot. I'm going to stretch our quadriceps here. Your other knee, your right knee, or I can't remember if I'm doing opposite of you or the same, but just that bottom knee that's near the ground. See if you can get the sense that it's supportive, but also relaxed. So your knee is bent. Just try to stretch your knee in the air away from your chest. And at the same time, your tailbone stretches toward that knee and the pubic bone lifts toward the belly button. Melt your head. And relax, knees to the chest, roll over to your other side. Grab your ankle, stretch your quadriceps on this side. Breathing well, tailbone descends, pubic bone lifts. Stretch your knee away from your chest. Try not to get the knee lifting in the air. Keep the knee in line with the hip. Just enjoy. And then relax that. Now take 2 blankets or a block, whichever you're in the mood for, whether you want something soft or hard, okay, underneath you. I'm going to choose blankets today. We're going to do a hip flexor bridge stretch. Okay, so come down onto the ground with the blankets or the block underneath your pelvis. So a lowish kind of bridge. We'll do another bridge in a moment, but first we're going to focus on the hip flexor. So stretch your right heel straight and just kind of take stock. How does that feel? And then see whether or not you can stretch the left leg at the same time comfortably. And if you do that and you're like, ooh, my back doesn't like that, then go back to putting your left foot on the ground. And you can just have a few breaths here and then switch in a moment to have your left leg a straight heel on the ground and your right foot on the ground with your knee bent. So you decide whether you want to do this one-legged
or two-legged. If you're doing two-legged, there's so many different ways to go about this. You can take your legs hip width apart or wider. You can experiment with what feels good. Maybe your arms come up overhead. Whatever you're choosing, if you need to do the second side, switch now. Let's find our way into the beautiful breath again. Steady, full inhale and exhale. Bend your knees. Bring your knees toward your chest. Just let your back rest for a moment. This is a little bit more comfortable. If you have blankets underneath you, if you have a block underneath you, you might just need to adjust it a little bit to be in a happy place. Let your back relax, breathe well. All right, now we're going to release our legs down onto the ground. Now, if you have two blankets, this is what I would recommend for this next pose. We're going to keep the blankets underneath our pelvis, a block on either side of the blankets. That's going to be for our shins. We're going to do a twist here. So lift up your hips and scoot them to the left just a little bit. And then the knees are going to come up and drop over to the right. So our pelvis is higher than our chest. And now the block is over there, so it can support underneath your shin somewhere, so that you can come into a bit of a more open twist than when we're just flat on the ground. Now, if this doesn't feel good to you, you can always remove the blankets and just do a simple twist on the floor. But this might open the chest a little bit differently, so let's enjoy what you're experiencing. How is the fullness, the pace, the sense of evenness and smoothness of the breath? Can you let the exhales take their time? And let's go ahead and put your feet onto the ground. Scoot your hips over to the right. Knees are going to come up and we're going to drop them left. So that block is there to place underneath wherever you need it. So you can put it underneath your shins or, closer to your knee, closer down toward your ankle, whichever the placement feels best. Breathing well. Melt your head and your shoulders. Enjoy this slight variation of having your pelvis higher than your heart. Let your head be heavy. Fill your ribs up with breath. Okay, come back. Now you can switch to a block under your pelvis if you want. Just a routine supported bridge pose. So you might like super high, you might like super low, you might like somewhere in between. So find the sweet spot for your bridge. And if you like the blankets, you can keep them. If you'd rather have a block, you can do that. Just remember, if you're going high, like the long height of the block, don't ever want to do that. You want to have two blocks stacked on top of each other so that the length of the block is across the pelvis. This is way more supportive for the sacroiliac joints than having the skinny edge of a block under your sacrum. All right, so let's breathe well here. Whatever height is comfortable for you. Breathe deeply into your belly. Feel the rise and fall through your belly, your chest, your armpits, even the back of your body. All right, and then we're going to kind of turn this into the leg up the wall pose without the wall. So bring your knees toward your chest, and you might need to adjust the block or blocks underneath you. A little bit of traction for your spine. The head is heavy. Stay with your breath as you've been cultivating it. And then when you're ready, you can lift your legs straight up in the air. And you, like I said, you might need to adjust the block a little bit. Now you can have your legs up, you can bend your knees a little closer. You know, just find a happy place where you're just very relaxed and enjoying the shift of gravity. So your legs don't need to be ramrod straight. They can be. Maybe it feels really good to you to kind of stretch through your legs, even point or flex your toes. But it's also okay to be very melty in your legs and have your knees in a bend and your feet just kind of floating. Feeling the weight of gravity and the weight of your leg bones nestle into your pelvis. Let's release the legs down. Take your feet a little wider than your hips and just windshield wiper a little bit, or bring your knees to your chest, or happy baby pose, whatever feels nourishing to your body. Now we're going to do the quintessential supportive restorative yoga pose, Supta Baddha Konasana. So I'm going to do it in, I'm going to pull out all the stops here with my props. You might have nothing prop wise, and so you're just flat on your back on the ground with block under each knee. But if you have extra props and you want to make it, kind of like the luxury model, then you can have one block on the middle height and one block on the low height, and put a bolster to have a ramp, or whatever you have to make a ramp. And then if you have blankets, you can fold them so that you have one blanket for underneath each knee or thigh. And then I'm gonna, like I said, I'm pulling out steps. I'm gonna get my my pillows to put my arms on. I'm going to put my sweatshirt back on so I'm cozy. Okay, so whatever you want this to be a nest building activity for a moment. So take your time to prepare your nest that you are going to rest within. So I'll show you in my body. I'm sitting on the ground with the bolster on a ramp behind me. Now, if I have one more blanket, I'd put it under my head. Okay. I'm going to take these blankets and fold them so that they're supportive underneath my thighs. Okay. And then I'm going to take these pillows and prop them up next to me so my forearms have some support. And if I had an eye pillow handy, I'd put that over my eyes. And like I said, if I had one more thin blanket, I'd stick it underneath my neck, under my head. But you do you. So gather your props to whatever place you like them to be. The most important thing that you're doing is making sure that your legs are supported. So you want to make sure you're not hanging with your legs in space. You want to have your knees, your thighs feeling like they're resting on something. So ultimately, when you get comfortable in this pose, you shouldn't feel like anything's stretching very much. It should feel like you're in a nest of support. And once you have that support, what can you do to help yourself drop into it? Can you give yourself over like you give yourself over in a hug, when you're hugging someone for a melting, long hug, that sense of surrender? Can you give that to your body right now? Can you offer that ease to yourself? Sometimes it comes in increments where you're peeling off the layers of them. Melt pelvis. Breathe deeply into the belly and pelvis. The ribs and the diaphragm to soften, to receive. Let your head drop into some weight, heaviness. And you free up any tension in your jaw or tongue. And even though we're not resting our forehead on something, feel the weight of the back of the head. And let the skin on your hairline descend toward your eyes. The outer corners of your eyes descend toward your ears. Your jaw descends as well. The tongue is soft. Teeth are soft. The inner walls of the throat melt. The hands are heavy and free. Feet are relaxed. Stay in this posture for all Shavasana if you want to. And whenever you're ready, there's a few options. You can just straighten your legs and use those supports that were on the outside of your knees for underneath your knees now. And stay on your little ramp. Or you can take all your props away and be on the ground. Have your legs up on the couch or chair. You can be on your side. However you want to be for Shavasana. If you are moving, try to disturb your peace as little as possible. Once you settle, return to the beautiful breath. Slow pace of the exhale. Full body breathing, feeling your head relax, your belly soften, your limbs weight on the ground. Listen to the sound of your breathing. Slowly begin to deepen our breath. Melt your body weight consciously one more time. Invite movement in however you prefer. Eventually coming onto your side. It's there for a moment of breath. As you are ready to sit. One more time as you come upright. Bring yourself back to that metronome sound of breath. Notice what your nervous system state is right now. Let's offer the grace of our practice, our energy. Send this to someone who needs you, needs your love, your care, your support. Namaste. Thank you, everyone. Blessings on the day. Hope you have a great one.